Thank you very much, Bernd. Christian B. Schmidt, André, Morys, Björn, and to David, who isn't here live today, but who sent us a video message for making it possible at such short notice to be part of our Christmas special. I mean, Christmas is still quite far away. It's the 24th of September, but we're going to give you some Christmas tips, and you need them now, of course, so that you can implement them. And our 5 experts have spontaneously volunteered to give away their most important tips. I've mentioned it already a moment ago, but I want to lead you through the program. We are going to start with Christian B. Schmidt, who has some examples you sent us, and he will give you some exclusive tips taking your examples. Then we're going to hear from Björn on SEO, and then Bernd will give the most popular tips that you really need. And then we're going to watch the video by David Odenthal, who will dwell on psychology, which is also very exciting. And now I'm looking forward to the exciting dialogue with André, who will speak about conversion, give his tips, and he is really a dedicated expert. I mean, you just have to meet him if you want to know anything about conversion. I'm getting increasingly pale here, Björn is saying, but that's the truth, Heike is saying. And that is the program for today. Saim, would you like to say something as the host? No, I'm just the co-host today. In addition to Heike, who, as always, manages everything perfectly and has everything under control. What we really have to make sure is that it's the 24th of September. They're just for 3 months, and all the experts are supposed to share those things who can bear fruit in 3 months' time, because then our Christmas business will be over. We're not speaking about 3 months of Christmas business, but then it's all over again. And I'm going to lean back, and I stand ready to answer any questions if you have some. And I will also ask questions to our experts, and I will support Heike as a co-host. That is the only part I have today. Apart from that, I'm going to lean back, enjoy my popcorn, and absorb everything that's being said. But you look quite good. Oh, but whilst eating popcorn, yes, that's accurate. Well, Christian, you take over. I just take over for a second, and I give the floor to Christian right away. Feel free to share your screen. It should work now, and you can now start with the examples that were handed in. Yes, I hope you can all see my screen. That is the first entry. Frank Flechtwagen gave it to us. We always have a questionnaire, and people fill in certain things. And what I've memorized is that Frank Flechtwagen's colleague, what matters to them is the deco shop. The competitors are very strong, and they want to know more about SEO. So I looked at their shop. We don't have that much time, and this is why I'm going to be brief. We have 5 examples. This is frankflechtwaren.de. And if I have a look at the rankings with regard to the decoration keywords, they are quite good. And the competitors are very important in this field, in a deco shop. I think that there is a little in there for the keywords, but you would need more time. Christmas isn't enough. But there's something that I noticed, and that is that there are some general categories. There are also some subcategories. I can see some here. Christian, sorry for interrupting. Are you showing something that doesn't look like an email? Because we see an email here. I see your Gmail mailbox. Thank you for mentioning. I thought you would click on the link now. Well, so obviously the link isn't here yet. I'm going to share the whole screen, because usually you can just change the tab. Now you should see us all. Now you should see the email. And this is Frank Flechtwaren. And here you see the rankings. Well, now you hopefully can understand. Well, you can do it with a tab. You can also share some tabs and change RPS. Somehow it didn't work. Well, be it as it may, the rankings are quite good, but there is a Christmas category that should be renamed. We are right before Christmas, so what can we improve by Christmas? If you search for Christmas, you will find totally different results. The title here, it says Weihnachten, so Christmas, Frank Flechtlan online and deco, but it's about Christmas decoration and Christmas ornations, and the category should also bear that name. We see that in other categories, it's not really such a problem, but we have chalet, for instance, for fall. These are descriptions that might be useful for the person who clicks on the website, but for a ranking, this is rather disadvantageous, particularly if you don't adapt the titles and everything else. So my tip at a glance would be change the category names, adapt them, and a simple solution is filter or put a category name into the sentence, can I buy that from you? And we cannot buy Christmas, and we cannot buy a chalet or fall. We cannot buy that. And this is what happens in pharmacies. They have ear, eye, mother, baby. These are the traditional categories, but give a meaningful name to the category. And you can change the name of the category, you can change the title, and we call it a focus keyword. Changing the focus keyword onto Christmas decoration, or change it for a Christmas decoration, etc. Then there's a second entry that came from tasnim.eu, and this was about a certain oil. Unfortunately, there is no money. Black seed oil is what it's about. The categories are named in a better way. You can buy vitamins, you can buy minerals. That's quite okay. But I looked at the following. If we look for black curcumin and we Google it, there are some product results, but the real web results is a guideline, something from the radio. This might be a shop, maybe, but this is black curcumin, the effect, it is effective in stomach problems. You've got the pharmacies and many other things, tests, experiences, information on how to use it. So this is an information-driven search intention. And here it gets tricky. If you use a conventional shop that just features products, different types of black curcumin products, I looked the keywords up on how black curcumin and where tasmin.eu is ranking. We always have shop URLs with different products, different sizes and packaging types. And if you have a look at the site search on black curcumin oil, there are different hits, but not necessarily the best category or no category at all that would be missing. If you have a look at the online shop or the rankings, the highest visibility is this product. This could be a top seller, 120 milliliters, that might be the normal size that is available. But if I look for black curcumin oil in the shop, I see different results. Here it says 19 and 78. So with regard to the user experience, I couldn't really understand this. I'd say there are many products, and we could say that a black curcumin category could be entered. That is inexistent. This means Google is insecure about which product would be the best one. There's a kind of cannibalization taking place, at least it's very likely, and black curcumin oil isn't, or black seed oil isn't the best keyword because it's an information-driven search. So what do people look for? For instance, buying black curcumin oil, 2,900 searches, that might be interesting, and that would be a suitable keyword that would go with that category. So my recommendation is verifying the search intention you want to achieve a ranking for. Do you have the right content on the page? Do we want to establish a guideline? Maybe that could be a strategy. And if I have enough products, I can have one optimized category that I create to have a good page. That would give me ranking opportunities with regard to the keyword I've mentioned. Then there is another example, KRAFT.ch. So Switzerland, the challenge is that there's a lot of competition. It is a Swiss shop which wants to have a good ranking. In Germany, they have a German subcategory. We're going to look at that in a moment. Diamonds, jewelry, bracelets, all the money keywords in the true sense of the word. And if we have a look at the shop, the categories are matching it. In these classic products like fashion, it's often easier because if you sell earrings, etc., you can sell that you sell earrings. So this is not the problem, we don't have the problem here we had before, but there's a lot of competition in Germany and in the other German-speaking countries. The challenge is that there are many large jewelry retailers, Christ, for instance. This is why these keywords that are very competitive, I would look into them and have a look at where do I have the best opportunities and where do I have a position already on the second or third page. What are the frequently searched for keywords and the competition, for instance. Here I have a keyword with 45% competition instead of 67. It might be easier. The search intention should be transactional because we want to sell. And if we have category pages or product pages, if we want, that's very important. And also the Pandora products and some other brands. Pandora is also very strong in direct sales and in online sales. In external brands, it's always tricky if it's presented that way. If you have a top 10 ranking, the click-through rates are usually very poor. But here we've got an example with boho jewelry or maritime jewelry. These would be keywords where we could say, okay, if 1,000 people search for that, in order to make it onto the first page, you could use a good snippet and generate 10% of the clicks per month. If you have an online shop and expensive products, you could make some money with it. So that would be the approach. We have those that are looked for very often, but it's not beneficial because there are opportunities. And if there's such a lot of competition that you don't have any realistic opportunities, then it will not help. So make sure have an eye on the competition. And in Google, sometimes you just need a little impetus to make it onto the first page. For instance, Creole earrings. Here, this company is ranking 12th already. You just need a little bit more to make it to the first page. Just a little impetus, a little drive. But these would be better keywords than the very general keywords that we see here, that where there's a lot of competition. So be more specific in the keywords. Go rose bikes. This is the next example. Gravel bikes. I knew the other keywords. This is why I Googled gravel bikes, and Fahrrad.de is the strongest competitor. That's definitely a strong competitor. So I searched for gravel bikes in order to understand why this happens and what the outcome is. There are some questions here, but online questions are asked, but there are online stores, and this is a traditional shopping environment, and Rose's bikes is ranking among the top 10. But in this case, I don't like the landing page where I'm ending up, because it's this page, Fahrräder/gravel, and I see this picture, but then I'm told once, well, that isn't really matching. Zum Ratgeber, this means to, if you click here, you see our manual and or tested in the store, but I don't see any specific product. So I would have to scroll down, and I have a 4K screen to see products. I have to scroll. So I might be saying I like these models, then I have to click again. Then there's an overview of only 2 models that we could have shown very nicely in the overview. I have to click again, and this brings me to the actual product. And if I'm like it, well, these are products that need a lot of information, and this is why a manual would be a good, or guide would be good. But here at the latest, I want to be convinced of the bike, and here I can put it into the shopping cart. What I like very much, that is the pictures, but that occupies a lot of space above the fold. And on the category page, I'd say it's important to show products. And this is what Fahrrad.de do. They are ranking better for many different reasons. It's a very strong brand with high click-through rates. You're all aware of this URL. It's a relevant competitor for this keyword, but you can also see the prices. They start at 1,000 euros. I clicked all the way through to the first product, and that was 4,000 euros in the case of the other company. So you also should take into account that it's not easy to compete with such a competitor. But above the fold, we see some first products. We see a description. So the elements are very similar to your page. Here we've got the hero shot, some description, and this page looks similar. But I have a selection of products, and I'm onboarded faster, and I make it to the shopping cart faster, to enter the product descriptions as well. But the product detail page is something I like much less, because it doesn't contain a lot of information. But this is also important. What page do the people end up on? If you get clicks, you want people to find what they're looking for. This can have an influence as well. If the user doesn't find right away what he or she expects, he or she goes back to the search result. And this is a very bad signal for Google. If Google realizes that large part of the users that comes to your page goes back, and at the end they end up at Fahrrad.de, this will make an impact on your ranking, a negative one. The last example, KMH, unfortunately, they didn't fill in the questionnaire. What I noticed is that they have many categories called other. I know that from the technical sites as well. It's usually the accessory category, and I understand where it's coming from. You have some products that you can't really categorize into the other categories. But drawers, for instance, there's just one product. It's called other, but it's a drawer, or it's this product here, a bench you can sit on with drawers. And if if you have a look at the Google Search Console, I couldn't do that at this because I didn't have a lot of time, but Google doesn't like that very much because you don't know what it is. There's just one product to pick and choose from. And if you go to the site search, and the amount of pages that there are amongst this category of other, and this very often appears time and time again, and it doesn't look good in the title to have a title called other, sonstiges. And this is why in these categories you have to see if you can dispense with that category. Can't you put it into a different category? There's one that's called shoe shelves, for instance. Maybe I can categorize it there. Maybe I should call it a shoe cabinet, or use a different keyword. Very often I see that accessories are stored away in other, and that doesn't have an added value. You can categorize the products elsewhere, or say in, where was it? For your home, this category, I have the mask. I mean, I don't really know why this product should be categorized here, where you find furniture. I mean, many companies earned a lot of money with that recently, but you can actually do without that. If you're still watching and you want to have more tips. You can access digital effects / Semantics and hand in your URL if you want to. And if you have further questions, get back to me. I'm also going to write you a short email and we'll say hello, and we can also have a more or longer discussion. I mean, I could at least spend an hour speaking about that topic and answering questions. So this concludes the examples, and I'm looking forward to your comments. Thank you very much, Christian. We can collect the questions right away, the direct questions related to that presentation, and we can also deal with them at the end. We'll see. We have to keep a look at the time. So please ask the questions in the chat or in the question and answer section. And at the end, we can address the questions again and ask the experts. The SEO round will be continued with some excellent tips. I think these were tips that could be implemented fast. If we wanted to make some additional money for Christmas. Björn, now you're going to give us your exclusive SEO hints. Moin from Berlin.
Yes, hello, moin, we say in Berlin.
I have
Well,
7
as
tips
for me, I have 7 tips,
that
7
I have
pieces of advice.
because
And strategically in
you
e-commerce,
should always start early,
get
so
there
this
as
is why
early
it's
as possible, as soon as possible. So this is the perfect point in time, really, to get together, because it's late summer, really, when you
September
really get ready,
with
starting to tweak, to optimize your Christmas categories. With most e-commerce fields, the peak of traffic, the Christmas peak, it's actually over in November. So because people are afraid that, oh, if I order something, it won't be getting there in time, so I better place my orders now. I'll choose something now. So this is the very first piece of advice: get started early and don't wait for like November or early December. So the first thing you can do, and Christian had a really good example for that, keyword research. You want to start with that, a keyword research. Look at what people look for in detail. So what were the keywords that in the last category got us the most traffic? And what are the keywords that are typical for Christmas, like toys that were sold last year? And what was the word that was researched most often for women, for men, children, etc.? So this is something you want to target specifically in your research, and then draw up categories and look at new trends. I mean, there's always new toys, new products. Trends change. So you want to look at whether you've got the stock, you've got the inventory, or perhaps do I need to acquire a new job to make sure I can get that stock? And then get ready and stockpile. And Christian, as he said at the beginning, of focus keyword, and take that into account. So my favorite example is UK. UK, there, the keyword, believe it or not, that people research the most is the ugly Christmas jumper that people tend to buy there. This is the #1 keyword in their research. Some say nice, but it's actually not. But actually, traditionally, this is the present that is researched most. So you might not necessarily think about that yourself, because you wouldn't think of buying it, and you'd probably look for PlayStation 5 or 6, whatever. So this is your perfect example in what way to look for keywords. So this is really very important. So don't forget about that. What is also very, very important, and Christian also gave a very good example, conversion-oriented keywords. So what are people's intention? What do they intend to buy? So we are at the very bottom of the sales funnel. And when it comes to Christmas specifically, you want to start not at the bottom, but at the top. And because many people, and you know that from yourself, have no idea whatsoever they give their granny or their children or their better halves. So they first do research on what would be a good idea, what would be a nice present, a nice gift. So it's important to also work with content, provide the content that will help people find their solutions in their search, which is to say, make a listing what are the best ever Christmas presents for men in 2021? Or as for kids' dreams for Christmas 2021? Or the top 10 bracelets or necklaces for your granny or for your girlfriend. So that's what I call listing pages, publish them, and make sure there are links from these articles to the platforms where you can buy these products, because there will be keywords, and you want to be sure to be there or the top of the sales funnel. Make sure you got the links. So attract top of the funnel shoppers with informational content, then start as early as possible. Advice number 3, especially if you're a small web shop, then you really want to make sure you have external signals. That is to say that you want to make sure that you'll be linked with other websites. On other websites, there is a link to your site, to your web page, and make sure there's seasonal content, publish a case study or something, whatever's related with Christmas. So then collect backlinks, external signals, if you like, and that can be beautifully spread out onto the individual Christmas categories. So I can give you an example. When I was still with Itago in Switzerland, there was a beautiful infographics, and in the past 25 years, we had a list of what were the top 25 Christmas presents for children. And these infographics that was so popular because people in any age group could relate to this kind of product. And this provided beautiful links for anything that was Christmas related. And we had this infograph on Christmas, so we could create backlinks. And especially if you're a young e-commercial shop, then go for it. So that was advice number 3. Let's look at number 4, image search. That's something you want to bet on, because Christmas is a very visual thing, you know, especially if people are not sure what they want to get their friends, their grandparents, their mom. That's when it kicks in. 50% of all online shoppers actually look for images, and they use these images to get some inspiration as to what they want to buy. So this is so ever so important. Focus on that. Look at the quality of the images. Don't just post anything. It's a very visual thing. Look at the images. And these images, make sure not to use them only in your Google search, but also in Pinterest search engines or Instagram, because these are platforms that people use for their, you know, when they're on their journey to discover presents, get inspiration. So you're using tags, hashtags that you can use for your purpose. And that helps people to get some inspiration on what to give for Christmas. So next piece of advice. Well, as I said, do try to create external signals. However, when looking at internal links, it's ever so important to make sure this is adapted to the season. Let me give you a very simple example. The structure, the menu structure you have on your start page. Now you're, you know, if you sell general stuff, you know, it doesn't make sense to get people a link to buy a bikini in winter or winter boots in summer. So of course you can use things that were in high demand in the past season, but with the keyword research, making new landing pages, it always makes sense to also look at new trends. So everything that you see comes in for Christmas. Focus on that. Focus on it in your internal linking system. The menu, of course, that you can open up is a very important thing, but also when you integrate individual teasers or other categories, top categories for Christmas, have a very specific focused on the Christmas categories that you want to pick. So those were my pieces of advice, my 7 pieces of advice. So keyword research, as early as possible with your keyword research. Look at what was what flew well in the past year. What are the trends? Where is it going? Landing pages, get the stock in time. Top of funnel content. This is what you're supposed to create, because this listing works really well, especially for the early phase when people are not sure what they actually want to give to their loved ones. presents for men, 21 great categories or blogs, and make sure as early as possible that you get this published and indexed in time. And of course, beautiful material, images, PR campaigns, send out those external signals related to Christmas. Don't forget image search. So make sure you're using quality images, something that inspires people, is promising for imagination. Use other social media platforms, Pinterest, Instagram, because they build heavily on images and imagination. And internally, the links, the teaser, everything relating to your homepage campaign. Make sure that is focused on Christmas and everything that would be important in this season. So anything that's not important for Christmas, that people are not interested in during that period, just leave that aside and do focus specifically on Christmas. The Christmas peak. Get started as early as possible. Late summer is perfect. Get your planning started because, as I said, in November, it's all over. Das war's. Well, thank you very much. I think this is a very good roadmap. Get people started for the roadmap. So I've got a full to-do list here. If I ran a shop. So if I didn't know where to start, I do know now. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bernd. Very good pieces of advice there for the Christmas business. Let me say that we'll just move on to Bernd. No, so we don't lose time. And then, of course, there'll be time for Q&A afterwards. Bernd, off you go. You have the floor.
Kann man mich sehen? Bin ich im Bild?
Yeah, I hope you can see me. Yes, we can see you. And you look great. Don't be surprised because of my right eyes. I was so nervous to be speaking here today. So because there are such outstanding speakers here, and then it's me. And all the information the others have given, all the information was great when it comes to SEO. On the other hand, we have price comparison portals and paid ads and things we notice time and time again, given the many customers we have, is that the trivial basis is missing. The supply data very often are missing the information about the things you can offer. So please, the first piece of advice is make sure that everything you want to offer to be sold during the Christmas season, that the data quality has to be excellent, not only with regard to the shop, because this leads to a good customer experience, and that makes the customer say that, well, I want to buy from that shop because I trust it. And if you deliver your supply feed, you have to deliver good quality in that, because we as service providers can reach a much better conversion. We can make sure as a partner that the customers receive the quality and that you can make money. This is an essential part which is oftentimes missing in the search as well. It's not only about the product itself, it's also about professional images that are very important. Oftentimes I see pictures from shops. I would never buy that because this was made with a cell phone, at least it feels like that. Then there's another thing we state and can give you as an advice. What is important is the SEO website, and one aim is to generate traffic there. But I also have to use the different possibilities that the different platforms do provide, and I have to learn what is possible. The feeds that I offer to the platforms, they have to meet the specific requirements. How do I have to design to show what I have to offer so that it fits the requirements of the platform? For instance, pictures, spelling, fonts, etc. And take that into account from the very beginning so that you will be shown in the best possible way. We notice that time and time again. If you have PLA ads in Google or Microsoft ads, or if you want to be placed on the portals, there are different requirements with regard to the feeds. And very often we have to provide a lot of support for this to work because it's not done, it's not taken care of from the very beginning. So this would be a very important aspect to make sure that there is a good customer feeling in the shop. And not everything can be done in Google in the organic search. And this is why there's a third aspect that is very important during the Christmas season. And with regard to the traffic and the search volume, the volume is increasing at this point in time. But very often, the partners don't know that they should adapt their budgets accordingly. I mean, it doesn't really help if I raise the budget a bit, but as we can see it now, and in October, it's really going to rise. Volume and conversions will increase, but the budgets will be used up very fast because the companies forget to adapt the budget in their mix and across the different platforms. And then my products are not visible anymore. You've got 3 months. I've just looked it up. On the 21st, 22nd of December, the last orders can be placed, and then the Christmas season will already be over. You have to make sure that you can adapt your budgets flexibly and raise your budget at the partner platforms you work with. Otherwise, you will be offline fast and you will not make the money. We experience that very often, that the shops go offline because they don't have any budget left, because they didn't raise their budget. These are 3 trivial pieces of advice, but I can see from the practice that this is very often ignored, and that does cost the companies a lot of business they could otherwise generate. There are more trivial topics, but it's already too late now. I hope you've all done what you had to do with against the backdrop of coronavirus and China. Supply chains, logistics change have slowed down, and sometimes you've got delivery deadlines 3 months in the future. So if you still want to sell products, make sure that you have the products on stock. The worst thing is if you order the customer wants to order something and then you don't have the product, and you tell the customer you'll have the product in 2 days, and then in 3 months I haven't received the product, and then I cancel the order, and this leads to a loss of trust. So either I have the logistic up and running and I'm ready for the Christmas season, or I have to be very careful to not be in trouble. I mean, this is quite late to come up with that tip given the logistics at this point in time, but maybe you can take the plane instead of a container on a ship because it will not arrive. The second thing we realize is logistics, delivery logistics. So dispatching the product. Make sure that you work with a good partner, because we oftentimes realize that as there's a lack of drivers, the user experience is less good. For instance, the company says, we dispatched the good, but there's a problem with logistics with our partner, and then the product only arrives 2 weeks later. Make sure you get the right partner. Maybe you need a more expensive partner, but if that partner guarantees once the product is dispatched, it will arrive in a day, because otherwise the customer will be angry. So these are some extremely important pieces of advice that don't have anything to do with SEO, but it makes an impact on positive feedback being given to Google, and this in return will lead to better ranking. These are traditional lessons you should learn, but in the times of peaks, we realize that people don't do it. Learn that lesson, and without a lot of additional work, you can benefit from it. So this is everything I wanted to share with you. I didn't want to share that much, but these are essential points. The 5 minutes are over. So my daughter told me to finish. So she's your alarm clock. Great. Okay, thank you very much. I think that this tip was very useful to have the goods on stock so that you can deliver it fast. In any event, the shop has to communicate if there are any delivery problems. Yes, one more sentence on that. I've made the experience, I moved house and I noticed that the merchandise wasn't delivered and you don't receive the information that there's a delay. And I proactively ask, and then they tell me the product will be there next week. 2 weeks later, no active news on the part of the shop. And I do cancel the orders in this with this kind of shop. And I order elsewhere, and then trust is gone because I don't trust anymore that the product will be delivered. So the processes in the background very often are so poor that the user doesn't have the motivation anymore to buy from them. So thank you very much for your user tips from the e-commerce world to prepare everything. This fits the context very well. And now I would like to share my screen and give David the floor so that he can share his video message. We can watch it. Time flies, I can tell. So I'm going to start the video right now, and I hope that you can watch it.
Ja, herzlich willkommen im Meetup von AX Semantics zum Thema smarte Weihnachtstipps für den E-Commerce.
Welcome to the AX Semantics meeting, Smart Christmas. Can you hear? Is that right? Both the original and the interpretation? Yes, so let me give you 4 tips. 4 tips plus 2, so something really special. Let me introduce myself, David Odenthal. I'm not with you today, unfortunately. I'm an optimizer or tweaker, digital value creator, if you like. So anything that's analysis, etc., you will create more added value. So you will get more and more ideas in a disruptive manner, meaning it's tweaked, it's even better, it's optimized. This is what I burn for. That's what I love doing. So the problem is we have 2021, and who would have thought, well, we're talking the technology and more technology. Content management systems, the most beautiful landing page. So it's all about technology. It's technology, like. So what's the range? Via social media, SEO, it's not important, you know, in all the range is important. So there might be overlaps if you look at opportunities and risks. So this is digital conversion. We don't want to think in silos. We want to have the communitarian level. Like we want to look at community, but that is a great piece of work. Technology is ever changing, but the psychology of people, that does not change. So this is important to bear in mind. And something else that doesn't change, online marketing, which we've observed 80% is the range, what we sell and how we sell it. So an apple. Let's take that as an example. For wine, etc. So let's take a closer look at risks and opportunities, chances. So how can we sell more apples in the market? So how can we increase sales figures? So we're looking at a conversion optimization, a tweaking. Since 2016, Statista says the average conversion rate is stagnating. It's at 3%. Many online shops, many smaller ones have 0.5 to 1%, and the big ones, of course, they pull the average up. So how can we improve conversion? More range? No, that's not the point. Go for modular, recreate, re-establish pages, do them anew. So insolvency relaunch, that's what I call it. We do not want to happen. We want to take it iteratively. So let's tell you a story, a customer's perspective. Tante Gerda, Aunt Gerda, she's 80 years old. She has a 50-year-old son called Günther. So Günther still lives at home. It's his birthday, and he loves model planes. So Aunt Gerda will use as a keyword a model airplane. So she will end up on a site, and she doesn't have all day either, you know, to fill in search slots. So she gets to this page and she's not sure where, somewhere in this hidden object picture, she'll find her airplane for her son. So this is a lack of conversion optimization, a conversion freak. But anything that touches it seems to be very expensive. So let's look at SEA. Let's take a different example. So Aunt Gerda goes to bed, the bed crashes. So she insists that it might be a very good idea to buy a futon bed. They're great. So I sell futon beds. So let's look at the search volume with a starting offer of €2. So the ad might be constructed in a way that you get 100 people clicking on your site, so that's 200 euros. But you spend 200 euros and not even 3% convert to buyers. So let's say you look at 3. So those 3 people perhaps are not happy on the site. So, okay, buy food and bed. So this is the result, which looks like this. So handmade futons, 30 years experience directly from the manufacturer. So this is what Ontgerda is looking for. So you get to the site, futons and mattresses. So this is, well, this is the image she gets. Am I supposed to sleep on a tree trunk? She's thinking. So she's looking for a bed and the price. And she's not getting there. So who's responsible? Where's the phone number? Who can I call? How do I get there? These are all the questions that Ontgerda has. So she goes bye-bye and leaves the site. So this is the bounce rate. There you go. So what's happening on the site? This is something that we should ask ourselves. What's happening on the page? So if something, the user registers something. So this is a very important point here. Don't forget that the user needs to process the important pieces of information rather quickly. So we're looking at user experience. So let's go to Mr. Gutenberg. Well, didn't have the sunglasses at the time, but anyway, we're looking at him here because he speaks of a design theory that we see worldwide. We read from left to right when reading through sentences. So this is true for many people. So how does that work? I can use 4 sectors in my Gutenberg diagram. You're looking at the primary optical area field, so the logo, the value proposition, then a strong follow area, the secondary links, that is to say. Then the card icon or confidence grading elements, the weak follow area, and the terminal area. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in simple maths. There you go. And this is something where we tested the custom. ATF above the fold, that's important. You need to be able to see that without scrolling down the page. So look at, it's important to have the content here to be able to make a decision. So this was the original version. Then we ran a little test, had a little trial, and this is what happened. And this is where conversion worked. So you're going to ask yourself, why isn't this done correctly in the tablet? Well, let me explain that in a minute. What is very significant is that all relevant information must be available above the fold. So any user will see at a glance what they need to take the decision without scrolling. Let's look at the next point. This is something that we learned from another client. So a pendular luminaire in metal, and we just left everything else aside. So we're just looking at the product itself, and we did a test as well. Is this relevant to show the payment information, or will the shopping cart do? In the original version, what happened was that the payment information below the cart here were not available. So all relevant information at a glance in your online shop, in your web shop, that's important just as well. So we started a survey. What is really of importance for clients? And they said, well, how can I pay? That's what most people answered. So that's what we translated into our page. We integrated, you can see this in the red frame, integrated on the page. So advice number 4, live up to clients' or customers' expectations as soon as possible, anticipate them. So, and we did it, we made it. So what does that mean specifically? We, the people, humans, process everything directly by our brains. The device that is in front of us, the computer, is just a means of transfer, or a supply of information, if you like. And this optically must be displayed in a manner that everyone, even Ontgerda, understands what are the relevant parts. So here, another piece of advice as a plus. People like to or tend to follow emotions. So this is the greatest lever in conversion. So here I answer what I haven't answered yet, the gaze queuing effect. So this is what we use to make sure that your look is directed to where you need to go. So this lady looking at the salesperson with a nice smile, you know, her looks directed in a certain way. So this is what I would like you to remember. Make sure it's all done very promptly. The information can be processed promptly. It's above the fold. Make sure that it's the relevant pieces of information, not just anything. So if you're paying attention, you will notice that one piece of advice is not there. And this is what I'll send to you when you get in touch. There's my email. Enjoy the Semantics meeting. Thank you so much for having me, be it only virtually, digitally. Very happy to talk to you. And I wish you every success. Have fun and, well, have a good Christmas business. Well, David, I'll give a wave here, an imaginary one, because he's not here. Thank you very much. Very interesting, very illuminating. So what's next? We have, last but not least, another expert, André. He will be speaking about conversion as well. And then I hope we can have some time to go for Q&A, because we've been at it an hour. André, off you go.
So I'm going to get started. Welcome and happy Christmas. I'm going to speak about Black Friday and Cyber Monday, because a large part of the Christmas business depends on these few days. In Germany, it's more than 3 billion euros. And I'm sure you all know this. And Christmas always comes as a surprise. You haven't bought the Christmas gifts yet, etc. And this is how I also experience it in the companies. They're all very nervous from a very early point in time onwards, but it's as if that's the first time that this stress actually happens. Can you see, will we see the graph? But you don't see the camera pictures. No, I just see you and the graph. Okay, so it all focuses on these few days and more sales generated year by year during these 2 days. And why is it getting more and more? And why? It's because of the loss aversion. People experience more pain physically if they lose something as compared to the potential or the feeling they could win the same amount of money. And this is what we call loss aversion. It's this curve of a profit. The profit is smaller than the loss. If you win 10 euros is less beneficial as if you lose 10. And what do you lose? There's another effect. It's called FOMO, fear of missing out. You're all aware of the feeling that 4 days before Christmas, you have to order via Amazon Prime, and then it's not the best product you wanted to have, and things are out of stock, etc. This is why I brought 3 success factors, 3 tips. A, traffic. I know that you might be saying an expert in conversion is speaking about traffic. He usually doesn't have any idea about that, but I'll try. And then conversion rate, I'm going to bash it in a moment because it's nonsense. And the third success factor, that's margin, the margin. The first factor is traffic. I'm not going to tell you how SEO and SEI works. I don't have a clue about that. I wrote many things down as you were speaking, so that I can optimize my own presence. But the timeline is very important. We are in September and it already started, and that's the bad news. People are already searching for Christmas presents. This has started a while ago already, and there are so many people waiting for the masses to happen to pass by. I don't know what they are waiting for. If it's on the 34th of November, people are waiting for these dates, but you don't want them to pass by at random or by coincidence. You want them to find you. And my conversion tip is start at an early point in time, building your funnel for the Christmas season, particularly for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. it accounts for almost half of your sales volume of the season. So if only you start your planning in October and you have something live in November, you might be missing 2/3 of the potential revenue. My traffic tip is build specific campaigns. What worked well out of your assortment last year, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and build your campaigns at an early point in time around these products. And on Black Friday, there will only be 1,000 coffee machines. So make sure that this deal is safe already. You can do that via all the different channels and find out what works well. Why is this effective? A, you use the loss aversion, you make use of that. At an early point in time, you can have the people order so that they don't miss out. And you can also address those who don't specifically buy, but who just migrate and walk around. And you use the emotional effect of consistency and commitment. If I committed at an early point in time that I was interested in this super coffee machine deal, my commitment will not change in a certain period of time. And there's a typo here. Don't forget the marketing opt-in so that you're allowed to talk to the people. The second factor is the following. Well, I hopefully many more people find your website because you started being active earlier. And secondly, I'm speaking about traffic again. And I experience that very often, how much energy is invested in the most creative advertising means, the teasers on the homepage, the all top of funnel, all the rumba samba, and then people click on the email and then they come to your regular product site. And this is lacking a lovely hand, so to speak. And I agree with what David is saying, tags and tools. It seems as if you were pushing an ugly pallet into an ugly hall and ask the people, please help yourselves. This is ineffective. You have to sell the stuff. You can't just raise the attention and then disappoint the people. We tested that back and forth with A/B tests. The Americans call that maintain the scent. That's what they call it, with some hearts and balloons and then only hot air in the end. You have to make sure that it's a consistent and coherent experience. Maintain the scent, the creative, the visual, be consistent in it. Whoever comes through an email will receive the email visual also on the product page. I mean, why am I explaining this to you? And the same goes for the checkout. This is the checkout. This is the tech part. No, you have to tell me here at the checkout why what I saw at the beginning was important. I will certainly have forgotten about it already. So be consistent in the creatives, in all your campaigns. Sorry for the flames. So it's really important to repeat it, and it's things that you've done already, but be consistent in your actions. Then there's a third success factor. So I didn't have enough time to finalize that, actually. I hope it looks good. People speaking about conversion rates, and those who launch the campaigns and design them, I don't know if they've understood what e-commerce is. The contribution margin, this is a certain calculation. So the contribution margin 1, 2, 3, and 4 don't exist in English. It's called differently, cost of goods sold, etc. In German, it's DB 1, 2, 3, and 4, but it means contribution margin. It's not all the products do have the same contribution margin, and what you sell in your campaign might be nice because it has a good conversion rate it offers, but you also want to make some money with it. So the products have been discounted already, and people can't make money with that. So what can happen? In order to have a higher, if you have a higher conversion rate, that doesn't necessarily mean profit. Maybe more people will return the product and sell 1,000 goods. And this means a loss of 30 euros 1,000 times. So measure your your success. Here you see the impact of different product detail pages on the contribution margin after the product was returned. The impact is there. Sometimes it's difficult to measure, but it exists. And you should do the same in your campaigns. Take the example of IKEA. Nobody went to IKEA to buy batteries or light bulbs or sockets or a new salad bowl. But what is it you actually buy at the end? All that crap. That has the highest margin for IKEA, and it's not the bookshelf Billy. And this is sold at the very end of the people passing through the hallways. I don't do the aisles because of the margin, which is very high. So people have to go through that area. That's important. And in the shop, what is analogous to that? Add to cart layers, everything that happens at the checkout phase, complete the look, 17%. This brings you to more products sold, even 17%. And e-commerce, if you sell something only once, you don't make any money. You want the people to register for follow-up purchases. So this means that really take this into account. You will want the customer to register as a customer, to establish an account. You don't have to allow for people to order as a guest. According to GDPR, everybody's afraid of losing conversion, etc. This guest account, you can make it be a smaller icon, for instance. Maybe it's not the most important factor, and you are entitled to ask for accounts. Customer experience and beautiful customer experience means that everybody likes the things, but there's a trade-off between people liking everything and you making money. In any event, put the guest account everywhere else, and this would raise the number of regular accounts by 40%. And that would be a very good measure. So try this out and test it. That's everything on my part. If you want to know more, here, this is the platform. It's all free of charge. This is why I feel free to advertise for it. Growth Ambassador program, you can find it on our website. This is everything I wanted to share, and enjoy your Christmas season. Thank you very much, André. This was a wonderful presentation again, and very entertaining. And it's sometimes difficult because you speak into a void. This is what it seems like, but I had to laugh, although you couldn't hear it. It was quite funny. I mean, this is crazy. And if I speak into the screen, I have to be aware of that situation, of how crazy it is. But I'm sure you're all aware of that. Yes, okay. And now I want to start the survey on the feedback. Some people have to leave earlier, and it would be lovely if somebody has to leave now. Please give us your feedback, and I suggest that we can have a Q&A. Do you share the slides? That was a question. Let me start by that question. We will also distribute the recording to all those who want to have it, and people usually appreciate it. Simon, do you want to start the expert round and have more in-depth discussions about the
wahnsinnig viele Tipps, ne? Und die Frage ist
immer, of course. So we heard a number of pieces of advice, and the question is, what are the takeaways? So what can I take home? What can I implement? That is a very difficult decision. It depends, of course. Am I responsible for that field or not? Or is it within the SEO range? Paid ads, conversion rate, is this something I can deal with? So that might be a question you would want to ask yourself, but I hope that you can take home something. I can see from our survey that everybody's really happy. So great, Heike and I are very happy. Yesterday, we were criticized for having invited men only. So yeah, what can I say? We promise to do things differently next time, and we'll make sure that we'll bring in more ladies in our panels. It was all on very short notice, so I'm speaking on my behalf here, Heike. I didn't pay attention. I'm really sorry. They should have been more balanced. But anyhow, thanks to all experts for your pieces of advice and for sharing them here. that was of great value. So if there's no direct questions from the public, from the audience, then I guess you contacted the speakers or experts, or you asked questions in the chat. Well, everybody's on LinkedIn. I am in touch with everybody on LinkedIn anyhow. So you will find your direct channel to contact our experts. So it's Friday afternoon. Thank you very much for having taken the time. I hope you enjoyed it. We